Hey everybody. He might be from Chinkapin, but I'm from Mill Swamp. It's a suburb of Chinkapin. And I think he's from Fountain Town, so we'll just go at that, okay? But today, what we're going to do is talk to you a little bit about genealogy, family history, doing your own family history, and then Norman's going to talk about family search. He's better on the laptop and a projector than I am, and so he takes care of that department of it, okay? But do you know what the second most popular hobby in the United States is?
Genealogy.
Genealogy. The first most popular hobby is gardening. Your second is genealogy. And so, and people ask, well, when did it get so popular? But it got so popular when the internet came on board. Because before, when you were wanting to do any type of genealogy, you had to go to where the records were that you were looking at. Now you don't do that. Now you can sit at home in your pajamas in the middle of the night and do all the genealogy you want to if you can't sleep, which we have done before. We call that going down a rabbit hole because you get started on it and it's like you just can't stop, and then you all of a sudden you realize, well, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And then you have to go to bed. But anyway, we enjoy doing genealogy, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your own personal genealogy. How can you get started? Well, the easiest thing for you to do to get started doing your own genealogy is to get a box and put it where it's in your way, that you will trip over it every time you move, and put in there your important papers, your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, certificates you earned in school maybe. Anything like that. I have a sister named Judy, and I think she was a classmate of Benny's back when, and she was 14 when I was born, and she kept a scrapbook for me. So I have my first haircut. I have my baby bracelet. I have pictures, which back then were very hard to come by, but they took a few pictures. And they are in my scrapbook, little greeting cards that she would send me when she was off at college at Miller Mott. She left me and went to Miller Mott to Wilmington, and she would send me little mail, and I've got all those letters in scrapbooks, the big old-timey kind, you know, the big ones. And I've tried similarly to do things collecting for my children, their certificates and things like that. So one day, when their children are old enough, they can go back and look through. But get a box and start putting all your important papers in. And then after you get all your important papers in, start on your mama's and then your daddy's. And I did that, and now I have a file folder for me, for Mama, Daddy, Grandma Bueller, Pa Charlie, Grandma Cat, Pa Willie, and then their parents. And I've got where I've printed off death certificates, where I've printed off census records, where I printed off marriage certificates, because I can't really get those original things anymore, but I can because I have a subscription to Ancestry. And I can print them off. It's not the original, but that's okay. It's pretty close. I've got something that shows my lines, and I've got my little bit of stuff all the way back. But I also would like to talk to you today about doing your own personal family history. I have a set of 52 questions. And I'm going to put them up here on this table, and before you leave today, I'd like for you to pick up one. It's 52 questions. 52 questions, 52 weeks in a year. If you sit down and answer one of these questions once a week in 1 year's time, you will have written a small autobiography of yourself. Get yourself a 25-cent composition book. That's what they are right now at Walmart. And start writing. That's all you need. Is a simple composition book. Then you will have something to pass down to your children or your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren about you. Because it's going to be a long time before the censuses come out that you're listed in. Now I can just barely find my parents in the censuses. But this is 52 questions in 52 weeks. And there's some bonus questions at the end if you'd like to answer those. In addition, when you get through with that, I have here something called 52 Stories. This was all started by Family Search because they feel like, you know, it's important that we're researching our records and we're going back. But what about yourself? What are you doing for you? Are you leaving your history? Are you leaving your legacy? Do your children know your stories? My daddy tells the best stories. I get the best ones. Do you know how to get rid of a wart? You steal your grandma's dish rag, you rub it on the wart, then you dig a hole and you bury it. Your grandma might get mad because she's lost her dish towel, but you can get rid of a wart that way, or so my daddy says. And I believe him because he said the wart went away. When he was little, he said he couldn't talk very good. And he probably didn't start school until he was 7 or 8 years old at Chinkapin. Because that's, well, actually, I think he went to Chinkapin. The rest of my family went to something called the Cole School. The individual communities had their own little schools back then. And where my family lived, it was the Cole School, C-O-L-E. And I have my great-grandfather's school books. And his name's written in them. Grandma Bueller used his books, his daughter. Her name's written in them. And then my Aunt Ludy used the same books because her name's written in those same books. And so that, to me, is very fascinating. They didn't have really a school. And that schoolhouse still stands in the community behind Cole's Chapel, Holiness Church. That building still stands. Not much of it left, but it still stands. And that's where they went to school. But I think Daddy went to the big school, is what he always called it. And he couldn't talk very good, so his grandma took a sheep spell, put water in it, had to pump the water out, and he drank from the sheep spell. And he said from then on, he hadn't stopped talking since. And my daddy can talk up a storm. You just ask Benny. He can talk. He'll be 93 in October, and he still gives me the best stories, and I record every one of them just as hard as I can, because when he's gone, my stories are going to disappear. I had the opportunity to interview him and my mama. My mama passed away 5 years ago, and I did a personal history interview with them. I just had a set of questions, and I would do 30 minutes at a time. I had a little flip recorder, and that's all I could get, 30 minutes. And we pieced together all those 30 minutes, and everybody for Christmas one year got the DVD. So they've got Mama and Daddy answering the questions. Mostly, when I'd ask Daddy a question, Mama would answer them for me. But that was the funny part, because Daddy never told it right. But if you don't write down what you know now, and if you don't want to write it, type it. You don't want to do that, dictate it to somebody else. Let them write it down. Let them capture your essence, your family history now. Because before you know it, it could be too late. But before you leave today, I'd like for you to pick up at least one of those each. And if you've not ever worked on family history, I brought a family group chart. It's called a family unit chart. And if you've never done genealogy, this is a really good self-explanatory form. You put your daddy at the top and your mama at the bottom, and you list your brothers and sisters. Now, my mama had 13 brothers. She was the only girl. One of these papers would not be big enough for her family. If it's a Hatcher and it's from Chinkapin, I'm related to it. And generally, if it's a Lenoir and it's from Chinkapin, I'm related to those folks too. Because there was a lot of Hatchers. But this is a family group sheet that you could take one or two, make yourself some copies, and start your own personal family history. Also, I have a poem that I would like to, it's not really a poem, it's more of a saying that I'd like to share with you, and I made a copy for everybody. And it says, "We are the chosen. In each family there is one who seems to be called to find the ancestors, to put flesh on their bones and make them live again, to tell the family story and to feel that somehow they know and approve. Doing the family research is not a cold gathering of facts, but instead breathing life into all who have gone before. We are the storytellers of the tribe. All tribes have one. We have been called as if it were by our genes. Those who have gone before cry out to us, tell our story, so we do. In finding them, we somehow find ourselves. How many graves have I stood before now and cried, I have lost count? How many times have I told the ancestors, you have a wonderful family you would be proud of? How many times have I walked up to a grave and felt somehow there was love there for me? I cannot say. It goes beyond just documenting facts. It goes to who I am and why I do the things I do. It goes to seeing a cemetery about to be lost forever to weeds and indifference and saying, I can't let this happen. The bones here are bones of my bone and flesh of my flesh. It goes to doing something about it. It goes to pride in what our ancestors were able to accomplish, how they contributed to what we are today. It goes to respecting their hardships and losses, their never giving in or giving up, their resoluteness to go on and build a life for their family. It goes to deep pride that the fathers fought and some died to make and keep us a nation. It goes to a deep and immense understanding that they were doing it for us. It is with equal pride and love that our mothers struggled to give us birth. Without them, we could not exist, and so we love each one as far back as we can reach, that we might be born who we are, that we might remember them, so we do. With love and caring and scribing each fact of their existence, because we are they, and they are the sum of who we are. So as the scribe called, I tell the story of my family. It is up to that one called in the next generation to answer the call and take my place in the long line of family storytellers. That is why I do my family genealogy, and that is what calls those young and old to step up and restore the memory or greet those whom we had never known before. And I really like that saying, and I wanted to share it with you, so I'm going to put it up here as well. But there's something about doing your family history to really connect yourself with your family. I know that I sat down one time with a group and I asked them, I gave them all a pedigree chart. I said, list your 4 generations. That shouldn't be too hard. Put yourself as number 1, your mom and daddy, your grandparents, great-grandparents. I said, list them. And probably 3/4 of the room could not do that. And these were people who do genealogy. And you should be able to at least go back your 4 generations. That's easy. 4 generations is easy. It's the ones that go further that become quite difficult. But 4 generations are much, much easier to do. And it's important to remember who they are, who they were, what they did, stories about them. I just love the stories that my daddy told. I like the stories that my mama told about growing up. And the things, when you got 13 brothers in the house, it was a house full. And how they, lived, and I don't know how they lived. They lived in a 2-bedroom house, log cabin. It wasn't even a house, it was a log cabin, 2 bedrooms. And I asked Mom, I said, where did you sleep at? She says, most of the time behind the stove, because it was a potbelly stove. And she would get up behind there. But, as the older ones went away, made room for other little children, and so, they did that. But doing family history is just really important. And there is a cute saying about the dash. And the dash I'm talking about is the dash that on every headstone, there's a dash, right? Every headstone, you got a dash. It separates 2 significant dates. The first marks the day when precious soul entered this mortal life. The second marks his or her inevitable journey onward. In a well-known poem by Linda Ellis, the dash speaks of this symbol. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. We are each right now standing somewhere in the middle of those 2 dates. We're standing where that dash, our little individual dash. Because it's human nature to think of our lives in terms of beginnings and endings, starting a new experience gives us the perfect opportunity to make sure we are making the most of that dash, filling in the details of our lives so our loved ones and our posterity are not left wondering what happened in between. All of us are now in the dash, but you may be thinking, I got plenty of time. I got plenty of time to record all that. I got plenty of time. And that's what happens to a lot of people. I read a story once of a lady who had a house full of children, and she didn't have time to sit down and write her story because she had a house full of children. But what she did do was take an index card, and she had a little metal box, and something would pop in her head, and she'd write it down. She'd jot it down. This happened in grade school. This happened when I first got married. Something would happen that day. And she made sure every day she tried to write one little thing down on that card. And unexpectedly, she died in her mid-50s. And her family didn't have nothing left till they looked in the little metal box. And then they had her life story told in her own words. And that's why I would encourage you to grab one of these papers today. If you got a friend that would like to write their family history, grab one for them. And work on those 52 questions. I have. And you can write a little or you can write a lot. My handwriting has gotten pretty atrocious, so I'm typing mine. And it's just easier. And I type it. And I do that on Sundays when I come home from church. It's the perfect time. You come home from church, you've had your lunch, and you sit down at your computer and you answer a question. And then you're finished with it for that day. Next Sunday, come home from church. It's just a very easy thing to do. And then after that, we always pop right into our genealogy. We call Sundays sometimes our scanning Sundays because we're busy scanning pictures into Family Search, which is a process that Norman's going to talk to you about in a little bit. Family Search is it's a gathering of a family tree, one family tree. On Ancestry, you got a tree, you got a tree, you got a tree, you've got a tree. Everybody's got a tree. But on Family Search, the goal is one family tree. Everybody contributing to the same tree. And yes, people do change your information, and yes, you have to go back and change it because you're holding the death certificate, or you're holding the birth certificate, or you've got the marriage record, and you know yours is right. But you can put a little watch on there, and if they do go out changing, you can fix that problem. But we enjoy doing our genealogy, and I would hope that today when you leave here you'll grab one of these 52 questions and you'll start on your own personal family history, yours. I know a lot of us have done our years past, especially if you're in an organization that would have that, but what have you done for yourself? What is there left for you to be able to tell? So I'm going to turn it over to Norman, and he is going to talk to you about Family Search.
But what I want to talk to you about today is how we use computers today to help with family history. Okay. She spoke about Ancestry. Many of you may have private programs which you keep your family history on. One Family Tree or Family Tree Maker or other things. All these are individualized to you. Okay. We pay money for those, and we expense those, and we use them, and they're fantastic. They've come a long way. The first one I started off with was personal personal ancestry file. It cost me a whole $20 back then. That was a lot of money to me. I now have used something called Roots Magic, which I prefer. It still costs me $20, which is a whole lot less to me now that I'm a lot older. But it does a lot more than the first one. So, what I'm going to show you today is how we take our Roots Magic and computer technology and use a new search device which is called Family Search, which is free to anyone, costs you nothing. Okay? It's free. Anybody can use it. You can do research on it, and it's available. Now, I'm going to go over here and sit down, and I'll be willing to answer questions, but I'm going to show you how I do it now versus what I used to do. Okay? The important thing is technology has changed to this respect. This is my computer screen, which you'll see in just a moment. This is also Family Search. You see that on the phone? And it's also on tablets. So it'll go on any device you want to use. Now, I will be honest with you, I cannot type on this phone like I can a keyboard. My fingers are too big. It's not comfortable. But the benefit of the phone and the tablets, when I'm standing in a cemetery, I can snap that picture a lot quicker than I can type that information. So, I'll turn your attention to the screen there for a moment.
Oh, real quick, you've got that on 3 devices. Do they synchronize with each other?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Family Search does, yes. Now, if you have, like I have Roots Magic. Roots Magic does not sync to my device. I have to actually physically connect to the computer and update it. Okay?
But Family Search.
Family Search is worldwide.
It's in the cloud, so no matter where you're at.
It's there.
We've often joked if anybody was ever to find our phones, they would wonder why do you have all these pictures of headstones in their phone? Because, I mean, you flip through our phones and it's not people, it's headstones, more headstones, graveyard.
All right, starting off with Roots Magic. This is the single database that I put my material into. Okay? this is my family. This is my ancestry. There's over 20,000 names. I don't know how many marriages and such. But there are a lot of things I like about this. It helps me control, and no one can change this for me. I'm the only one who has access to it. So, that having been said, along with this, let's see if I won't be able to do that one there. What I have over here is in my documents, I have file folders, just like you have in a filing cabinet. I have things on the Hoffman family reunion. I have family birth records. Okay, North Carolina and West Virginia, it's breakdown there. And you see, I can actually see pictures of birth records that I've gone and taken pictures of or have captured from other devices. And I always have a document of when people were born. And I can have an actual physical picture if I have to have a discussion with someone on the phone saying, no, that's not right. Okay? Again, censuses. These are the censuses I have different states. And it's just a way of organizing my data, what I'm doing. You remember how you had the big stack of paper and when someone says, who did Aunt Sally marry? And you say, which Aunt Sally? You know, the one that married somebody named George? And you had to go down through that whole stack to find Sally who married George. This is the way I do it electronically.
And I'm the one who has the filing cabinet, the real one with the real paper. He does it this way, I do it the other way. And we still like each other.
Such as headstones. When we take pictures of headstones, I take them and put them on computer where I can find them. We also share these with Find a Grave and other places just to help them out as well. That way other people doing research can find them. Those are the electronic things. Now I want to step quickly. Now I could spend hours on this topic, so please understand I'm going as fast as I can without delving too deep. This is Family Search. This is what we're talking about. This software has been developed over the last 40 plus years through input from all kinds of diverse people, diverse groups and communications. And this is mine. This is my section of it. Now, it has a family tree, and it'll look just like this. You saw it on the other thing over there on my tablet and on my phone. And you notice it has pictures. Okay? And you notice it has Susan's side and my side and our children. Now I can go back to any one of these individuals just by clicking over here, and it'll go further back. This is my great-great-great-grandfather. And you see this gentleman by the name of Hayes right here? You will also notice an interesting thing. What is my son's middle name? Our son's middle name? Hayes. Our children are named from family lines. Now here's a fun one. Watch this one. Our daughter Elizabeth, her full name is Susan Elizabeth. My mother is Joyce Elizabeth. Her mother is Grace Elizabeth. And Grace's family goes down to Martha Elizabeth, over to Martha Elizabeth, to Gatsy Elizabeth, to Elizabeth Stevenson, and going on back, let's see, where's the other one? Oh, I haven't got them in here yet. There's this Elizabeth Betsy Cox. I think Gatsy Lofton is Elizabeth, Gatsy Elizabeth Lofton. I have to go back and figure that out again. Someone's changed it. And I don't remember, but there's another Elizabeth Parker. But it goes so far back. If you notice, I can keep going back on all these lines. And let's see where I'm back to here now. I'm back to the 1600s. And I have holes in those lines that I haven't filled in yet. But the thing is you see how it keeps this for me, and I don't have to keep doing things. So let's go right here with Laura.
And Elizabeth is going to have a baby girl in December, and she's going to name her something Elizabeth. Because Norman and his brother were never ever the Tammy Elizabeth that Grandma had hoped to have. Not these two big boys.
Now, when I pick an individual like Laura Huggins, Laura was born in 1863, and she died in 1953. This is the type of information it keeps. You can do a life sketch of Laura, which you can tell all about her life. Okay? You can put in her name, her sex, her birth, her christening, her death, and her burial, which are all normal. But there are other things you can put in, such as alternate names. You can put in residences. It will also list all of her children. See? All of her children are here. If she has more than one marriage, it'll list those. It'll track them for you. I will just a second. Look at this section, sources. We can go in and put what source we got the information from. And in the sources, you can give a citation, and you see that little camera says no image available, but if there were an image available, it would show you the image, such as a census record.
Does this cross-reference other online, because I saw on the sidebar that said ancestry, in my head, will it cross-reference these other?
You can take data from the other ones into this.
Migrated in?
Yes. It will not go search them for you, okay? Because it needs the human interaction to say that this Laura Huggins in Jones County is mine, not the Laura Huggins in California, if you know what I'm saying.
If I've got stuff on ancestry, I can migrate that into this.
Yes, you can. You can pull things from Ancestry into this. It's more than just a simple thing.
Go back, you can see
I'm
who's
going
been
to.
working in there.
Where?
Scroll right down, you can see who's been adding stuff. Go the other way.
Go the other way.
the other way.
Which way? Up?
Up.
Okay, I'm not looking at
See,
you.
somebody's been working in there. Norman's been working in there, and somebody named Melda Hines has been working in this file. And that's how you can find people. I was working on my great grandpa, James William Cole, and I noticed somebody else had been working in it. So I was able to send her an email through Family Search. I don't have no information about her other than there's a name. I can click on it, and Family Search will allow me to send her an email, and I still don't know who she is. I don't know her name. I just have an email address. And I go, hi, I see you're working on Sarah and Coates Mobley. Might we be related? I get an email back from her. Yes, ma'am.
So where did you see that she was working with?
Right there.
Right here.
Child added, somebody's working on it.
See, what it does is it gives you the latest
Latest
changes.
changes, and you can see it's not your name, it's somebody else's name.
And so, for example, if I disagreed with her, or if I say, is she related to me? I can click this on, and it'll tell me her name. And see right here,
See,
I can send her a message.
You don't really get the information for that. But I sent this girl an email, and she came back with yes, if these names sound familiar. Well, it so happened, yes, we were related. And we started a correspondence through Family Search, and finally she says, here's my email address. So I had her real email address. And I got her email address, she got mine, phone numbers, we exchanged. She's in Vermont, the tip of Vermont, way up there in Vermont. Found out who she was, I figured it out. I already had her in my tree. I asked my daddy about her daddy. Oh, he told me all these stories. I was relating her all these stories. Well, she didn't know these stories because her mom and daddy divorced when she was in the 6th grade, and she went from being a Mobley down at Chinkapin and Lyman to being a Mobley in New York. And she didn't know anything about it. And she figured out that if she came down here, she could meet my daddy, and that's exactly what she did. They came from Vermont to meet Daddy, and Daddy showed her where her grandparents lived, how he used to go there on a mule and cart to visit his Aunt Sarah and Uncle Coates. And then I said, well, do you want to go to your daddy's grave? She goes, well, that's over in Jacksonville. I said, oh, no, it's not. It's right here on Willie Hatcher Road. She said, no, he was buried in Jacksonville. I was like, oh, no, I promise you he's not. And so we went down Willie Hatcher Road, turned into the soybean field. There's a graveyard there. And I said, there's your daddy, there's your brother, there's his sister, there's your grandpa, grandma, there's your great-grandma, grandpa, and there's your great-great-grandma, grandpa, all in one single row in a soybean field. So we had us a nice moment in that field because she was simply amazed that and none of that would have ever happened, ever. I wouldn't have never known her had I not made one click and said, hi, might we be related? Sometimes you get a response back, no, I'm just working on a line that looks like it needed some help. No problem, moving on. But I got a good response, and we met, and she brought me a big old jug of real Vermont maple syrup. I gave her genealogy, and she gave me syrup, so it was a good trade. But you never know who you'll find. Norman's found somebody in Washington State.
Okay, over here in changes, see right here,
Ella.
Ella and I have a relationship now that we're going to have to work on. Ella,
Yeah, it's a working process.
okay, I'll show you, I'll explain Ella to you. This is my grandfather, Earl, and you know his middle name is Hurl, H-I-R-L. I was actually told it was Harold, and when I put in Harold, someone in the family, I think 12 of his children pitched a fit and said, no, that's not his name. So I had to actually physically go to the county courthouse to the birth records, and actually it is H-I-R-L. Don't care if it's, and Ella keeps changing it, and I keep changing it back. Earl had a brother named Dewey William Adkins, and that's where her husband comes from. Her husband and I are second or third cousins, I don't remember which. And I felt inspired to work on Dewey's line just this year. And I was making changes in it and creating things. And all of a sudden, this person, Ella, showed up making changes. And let me show you a little thing about Family Search, which I love. You see this little box right here? It says unwatch. Well, I've got it dark. That means I'm watching it. And if you change anything on my people, it sends me an email, who changed it and what they changed. So it says, hey, Norman, someone's messing with your stuff. Now, they may be right. They may be wrong.
But you got to compare notes.
So we compare notes.
Can you deny access to your stuff?
Not through this
Not
tree.
on this tree.
This is a one world tree. This literally is a compilation of anybody in the world.
Now, this is Church of Latter-day Saints.
The church puts this out here, but anybody can have an account.
It's free to anybody.
It's free to anybody.
Do you?
It's free to anybody. We attend the Heritage Society of Lenoir, Jones, and Green, and I do believe just about every one of them have a Family Search account. And they do because they want to research on Family Search. And you don't even have to have an account to research. You can research off of Family Search all day long for free. You can't research off of Ancestry for free, but you can Family Search. And the church owns this, and they will never sell it, and they will never charge.
5 cents a copy. 5 cents a copy.
Yeah, unless you go to the Family History Center, and it's probably, you know, you
Yeah,
have
we
to
pay 5
5 cents a copy.
Right.
Sometimes 10.
Yeah,
Depends on
how
who's
big the
there.
paper is.
Now, I will tell you this. If you go to some Family Search, Family History Centers by the church, if you carry a thumb drive, you can put it in some of the copiers and send it to the thumb drive, and there's no charge.
We've
Okay.
been the one in Salt Lake, and if you just take a thumb drive with you and plug it into the copier, it scans all day long.
Goes right on your
Goes
thumb
right
drive.
on your thumb drive, and you're good.
Well, the visit to the center in Salt Lake worth it?
Yes, it
Every
was for us.
every dime I paid in airfare, hotel, and food was worth that trip. Because I found things that I could not find other places. Because family members of the church or not, have sent things to Salt Lake for safekeeping. Their family stories, their family Bibles. There are all kinds of things available. You may not find exactly what you're looking for, but we spent,
2 days.
2 days in there.
And it was worth every bit of it. We forgot to eat.
We forgot to stop for lunch. We forgot it was time to go eat
missed
dinner.
lunch. We forgot it.
As a matter of fact, we looked at each other and said, are you hungry? No, I'm not hungry. Let's keep going.
We just sort of forgot, you know, it got to be supper time, and we decided we should probably stop somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Now,
But it was worth it to us.
somebody put a family name that I'm related to, excuse me, have no idea who those people were, that they attached to my tree. And when I was at the family center in Wilmington, they actually called Salt Lake City to erase it.
Mm-hmm. And you can.
You can.
You can.
You can.
Because I looked at it and I said, where in the world did this thing come from?
Right. Well, I had an uncle who was born and his mama died, and his mama's name was Mary. So guess what the great-great-grandpa named him? Mary. A boy named Mary. Instead of Mary Annie, he became Mary Annie. O-N-N-I-E. Poor Uncle Ani. He's been a girl for so long. And I finally got Family Search convinced. There was 2 of them out there. I said, look, he's a boy. Well, are you sure? I said, I'm positive. I said, look at this census record, okay? I said, look at this marriage certificate, okay? I said, now look at his death certificate. All right, you're right, he's a boy. We'll fix it. And he disappeared. The girl version of him disappeared. But it took that. And I've also had some people who are really old, and I'd be doing Family Search, and I would see that they had been declared dead. Well, I knew good and daggone well. I mean, I know that Nanny Marshburn is 100 years old, but she's still very much alive. And I called Family Search. You don't know where you're calling. When you call Family Search, you get helpers. That helper could be in Salt Lake. They could be in Australia. They could be anywhere. They are assigned to be a helper. And they helped me work through it. And sure enough, I got Nanny back to the road of living. So, you know, it's just that people think, well, they're 100 years old. Surely they're dead. No, she's not. She's still very much alive down there in Fountain Town.
The interesting thing here about these different things is that I want to show you what happens when someone makes a mistake, okay? You will notice here that Frances Marion Tincher's father is James William Tincher, okay? I have proved this repeatedly. Now, my dear friend Ella, this week, not joking, came and merged this Frances Marion Tincher to this man's son who is F.M. Tincher. This man is not my Tincher. So what do I have to do?
Unmerge.
I will have to go out there and fix it. Understand, everybody thinks they're right. The one important thing, and I will explain this to you very simply, these are the sources. Which she stuck sources in there too, which are wrong. So what you have to do is you call Salt Lake. You call Family Search. I need to quit saying Salt Lake because they're all around the world. And you tell them this situation, and they can and will put a lock on it if it continuously happens. And you've proven it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I'm going to use this phrase, and if it upsets anybody, please do not be offended by it. If you have the equivalent of the DAR proof, they will lock it. They will say it's done. No one can play with it. Okay?
Because you've got proof. You've got the proof.
Okay.
You've got the solid proof.
As you see up here, Ella's been in my stuff a lot lately. Okay. Some other quick things that you can do with this. Duplicates, you can check for duplicates. What it'll do is it'll pull up the person and it'll tell you to start with there's no duplicates, but if you know there's a duplicate, you can actually go find the duplicate and merge them together, which is what she's done, which she shouldn't have. I'm going to go to that one just a second. Okay. I'm going to go to a different section for a moment. It's called Memories. Now this is one I have fallen in love with. I don't think I want to go to Gallery. I want to go to People, I believe. Yeah, let's go to People. This is where we have stored pictures. Okay? Do you know how many pictures are in your family? How many members of your family have pictures that you would love to have a copy of? Okay?
How did you get there again?
Memories.
Memories.
And it's a tab right
There's a
there.
tab above the person's name. Or you can
All
go
right.
to it up here as well. It's in
This
two
is-
places.
We're good. If you go to the tree, I'll go back real quick for the tree. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Come on, tree. Okay. Yeah, this is heavily cross. I will use my grandfather. If I go to him, Earl Hurl. My grandfather, I loved
He was
him.
quite the character.
Now, you want to talk about somebody who could tell stories? That man could tell some stories. Why are you not going to Grandpa? There we go. There we go. Wasn't getting there as quick as I wanted to. And above him, it has memories. See right here? And there's 15 pictures of him I've put out here.
Or something.
It's right there. Now, I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. Okay. My grandfather ran for justice of the peace. He ran 4 times. He lost every single time. This is my grandfather, my grandmother. This is my grandfather. See if I can blow this up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't see this squeaky squirrel.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Hang on. This is my grandfather, Earl. He had a pet squirrel, and he called him Squeaky. And when I tell you it was his pet squirrel, that squirrel was like a dog. When he'd whistle, that squirrel would come. That squirrel would sleep in the house with him. That squirrel would crawl all around his shoulders and sit on top of his head. I mean, it was just like a pet bird or a pet cat or a pet dog. The squirrel loved him to death.
Who puts the pictures on here? Did you do that?
We do.
That's the thing.
Anybody can.
When we were talking about scanning on Sundays, we have these pictures. Or I take them with my phone or my other devices. I go to someone's house. Say, I'd like to see your old pictures. No, I don't have any. Well, I don't want to take away. I just want to take a picture of your pictures. Guess what?
They'll let you do that.
Tons of them. All of a sudden, we have tons of pictures. Oh my gosh.
They're not going to let the pictures out of their sight, and that's fine. But you just let me get a hold of them. That's all I want to do. My daddy, I went and stayed with him while my sister was gone this past week. And we went to visit a lady out on, I guess she's a cousin. She's a cousin. And I asked her, I said, you got any old pictures? Well, I don't know. And I said, if you ever run across any, I said, would you just let me know? I just want to take a picture of your pictures. Well, there's one in that room right yonder. And I walked in there, took my phone out, went click. Now I've got a picture of my great aunt. Which one? It's one of Pa Charlie's sisters. I got a picture of her and her husband. Cool. And I will take it, email it to myself, save it to my desktop, and import it there. And I've got all my mama's old pictures. When she passed away, they gave me the pictures to take care of them, and I have scanned them. So when I pull mine up, I've got all the childhood pictures of everybody. And anytime they want to see them, all they got to do is go to them and see them. Now, if you're living, you can't see it. And the best part about scanning these pictures in is if there's, say, 5 people in that picture, and you tag all 5, you know how you do on Facebook, you tag people? If you tag a picture that's got 5 people in it, and you tag them Aunt so-and-so, 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 you've scanned it one time, and it'll go to 5 different accounts.
Here's an example.
It shoots it out. Yeah,
This is an example of my family. The lady on the far right back corner is my Grandma Grace. When my Grandma Grace died, I only had one picture of her. One. Just one. And everybody said, she didn't like pictures. She's never in any picture. Guess what?
She was.
She's in a lot of pictures. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Everybody had them. They didn't realize it. There's Grandma Grace. Now you see all the people on the side. Those are her brothers and sisters, and one is her grandson. But by putting this one picture in and tagging everybody in the picture,
Scan over the picture so to show the circles.
see?
See how he tagged them? And a Family Search, it will throw up a circle, and you click on it, and you type in the name of that person, and if they're in your tree, it will attach them to that person. So if he goes to Ezra Orvis Jr.'s folder and goes to memories, that picture's going to appear there as well because they got tagged.
There's Junior. I couldn't remember which one Junior was. Okay. But the benefit of this, now listen to this. This is a very important part of the benefit of saving these photos. Photos are dying. They're being destroyed every single day. They age. They change color. The other benefit of this is once I've scanned it and I put it on here, every single person who's a relative of anyone in this family can see this picture. It doesn't matter if you're in North Carolina, Canada, Europe, wherever, if you're related to this family, if you're related to Grace or Timmy or Ezra, any of them, this picture is viewable to you.
Now, if these are pictures that you've taken with your phone of a photograph.
Some of them are, or some of them we actually have them scanned.
Okay.
Yeah, if you've actually got the picture, you can put it on a flatbed scanner, scan it, it creates a JPEG. You can load the JPEG into here. And it's available to everyone who is there. Little warning for you, just so that you understand this. If the person is not dead, you're the only one who's going to see the picture.
Because it protects the information of the living.
if you put a person in here who's alive on your family tree, you're the only one who sees that person.
Like when Norman showed you his big tree, my daddy was there. That's his version of my daddy. I've got my version of my daddy. My pictures won't show up on his version because he created that version of my daddy. Because that's holding that place with Mama. However, if he clicked on Mama, then you could see all of the pictures with Mama. And if Daddy's tagged in the picture, you can see that picture. But you won't see the information on my daddy because my daddy's still living, and that's protecting his birth date and his everything.
Now, I gave this one a title, The Hoffman Family. I didn't put a year because no one could tell me what year it was. I can tell you it's Emma Webb Park in Kinston, North Carolina, because I grew up in Kinston. But I can also come in here and put a comment. I can describe everything about the picture as a family reunion held at Emma Webb Park. If I knew the year, I could put that in there. But, what? Other than that, in memories, there are other things you can do. Let me show you a little bit about searching. The records that are available are worldwide records. They're not just North Carolina, they're not just North America, they're not just the United States. All of these records are worldwide. So when you put in a name, if you put in Robert Smith, every Robert Smith in the entire world is going to show up.
And the records come in another language too.
Yes, they will come in foreign languages.
If you're trying to research something, all of a sudden you've got a record you can't remember. You can't unless you read that language.
Now you see,
show up.
You can pick a region if you want to just limit it your search. But if you do not limit your search, it considers it worldwide.
And there's also records out there that have been digitalized, but they've not been indexed. The indexing makes it searchable. There are records out there that are digital already out there. The church is discontinuing microfilm. Where you could go to the Family History Center and say, I want this record, it's on this roll of microfilm they'd order from Salt Lake, it'd come in, you'd sit there and twirl. They're discontinuing that because they've got everything digitalized. Indexed, no, but digitalized, yes. So there might be a collection that has not been indexed, and you're welcome to sit there and go to that collection and literally flip it page by page by page until it gets indexed. And once it's indexed, then it's searchable.
Now, here's what a search looks like. It's very similar to other devices you use. As you see, here's Earl Adkins. Some information about him. Hayes and Esty were his parents. Shows I have a tree available. There's information about it, and there's a picture available. See the three icons? Okay. These are things that it'll show you. This is a death certificate. It shows him as a father. The child who died was Eddie Joseph Adkins. There's a picture available. There's information available. You can view the record. Some of these have very few of those. If you notice down here, wow, they got a lot of pictures on this one.
Where they're available at an associated site.
Yeah. So you see, you can do all kinds of searches here. And you're limited only by what you put in.
And unless your Ancestry account is hooked to your Family Search account, it won't show you anything it pings off of Ancestry. Family Search and Ancestry work together now. They work off of each other. So if you're in Ancestry, it might say, we're going to take you to a partner site, and it will show you the image from Family Search. Family Search will in turn say, we have an image, but it's with Ancestry. Oops, you don't have an Ancestry account. Sorry. So it won't show it to you. So
Okay.
You've got to have both in order for it to work perfectly, but you also do not have to have an Ancestry account if you do not want one.
So you can see right here, Earl has a record that is viewable at westvirginiaculture.org, WV Culture. I use that one quite a bit for my...
And it's free.
It's a free site, and if it was not a free site, they'll tell you. So I can go to that and actually go through Family Search to see the birth record of my grandfather.
And it sure beats the mud out of going there and trying to pick up them books and go, because I can attest to this. In West Virginia, there ain't nothing indexed. It will drive you crazy.
Now, do you see this?
Crazy.
You see this right here? This is the part that proves that his middle name is Hirl. You will also notice that it's in a different color ink. That when he was named as a child, it was just Adkins, and someone came in later and wrote in his name. okay? But I spent a lot less time and money sitting right here looking up that record than getting in my car, driving all the way to West Virginia, going into the Fayetteville City, Fayetteville Courthouse, going to the deeds office, pulling open the books and trying to find him.
And then literally finding the right book, because you got to know. It's like Dillon, South Carolina. If you ever got married in Dillon, South Carolina, your records are safe. They've never been indexed, I promise you. Unless you know exactly what year, what day somebody got married in Dillon, you will never find it. Been there, done that.
And they do not help you greatly.
They do not help you.
You go in and you say, can I look at the records for the marriages?
They just kind of snicker.
They
and
point
yeah.
over there and go, yeah,
Yeah,
they're over there.
yeah.
Now, the other thing, I gotta wrap this up, and I know. Anybody got any family recipes they love? There's a section now in here for recipes that you can share your family recipes. Your great-grandma's favorite cushaw pie. You can put it in there.
I got my
Anything.
Grandma Bueller's tea cakes out there.
There are all kinds of things now that you can put in here. You can record someone, I think it's up to 30 minutes,
On your phone.
on your phone
And add that audio.
and add that in here, that audio in here. Actual voice of the person. I have cassette tapes of my grandfather and my grandmother that are to me priceless.
And it took a while to go, from family to family.
I gotta tell you, Norman, Susan, thank you. Y'all join me in. That was impressive. So I really appreciate you bringing that to us today.